Kia ora, this is Arun Jacob, your friendly and frank licensed New Zealand immigration advisor as well as education advisor. It is a Monday, the 15th of January 2018, and as always, when I come back from a weekend and I switch on my Facebook, which we use very extensively to promote New Zealand education and migration, there are hundreds of questions waiting to be answered. And sometimes what I do is I make these videos so that I can reach out and talk to you directly about how the migration processes into New Zealand work. And it's always a pleasure to give answers to all your questions from different parts of the world. Well, today when I started my Facebook group, which by the way is called NZ Options. So if you want to search for it, get onto Facebook and search NZ Options and you'll see a nice big banner which says Migrate to New Zealand Q&A, which is question and answers pertaining to it. So when I started my Facebook today, there were quite a few questions that were being asked, and at least 4 or 5 of them had the same theme, which is, hey, I like the work that you and your team do, but how come that you always recommend study as a pathway to migrating to New Zealand, and how come you don't ever talk about how you can help us find jobs in New Zealand and come and settle in New Zealand without having to undertake study again, but just get work and come directly and be able to move into New Zealand. Now, as a company, as an organization, nothing would please us better than to be able to create those kind of products and services which our clients ask. And in this instance, if you ask me saying, hey, look, can you help me find a job? I would love to say, yes, we can help you find a job, because it's also easy for us to sell a product or service that the market wants. And one of the most frequently asked questions in our Facebook group and also in our YouTube channel and various other places is, help me find a job and come into New Zealand. And we constantly keep pasting the same answer, which is, sorry, it's not very easy to find a job in New Zealand when you're not in the country. But the sheer number of people asking this question is very high. And if we really wanted to make some money out of it, it would have been so easy for us to put up some kind of a service which said, okay, job finder assistance or something like that, and be able to make money, because the demand is very high for this particular question or this particular service. But we are a very ethical organization. We are highly focused on creating good migration pathways for good quality people, because we are loyal to New Zealand's immigration processes, and our larger intention is to create a better society here in New Zealand through quality migration. So we constantly keep telling you, hey guys, look, it's not easy to find a job here, because there are enough number of qualified and competent people already present in New Zealand. So for a New Zealand employer to be able to look for somebody who is beyond their shores and then go through the entire immigration process of trying to bring them in is just, totally unnecessary in the first place. So they obviously will focus on people who are already present in the country. And besides the local Kiwi population, which is also actively seeking employment, there are also a lot of temporary entrants into New Zealand, like international students, for instance, who come in large numbers to study in New Zealand. And they also, most of them end up getting something called the post-study work visa after completion of a course at a particular level. And so they are also competing in the job market, and a lot of them come into fantastic courses here in New Zealand at the master's or postgraduate diploma or other levels. So there's a whole lot of competition already present here in New Zealand for employment, and which is why it is almost impossible for somebody who is not present in New Zealand to be able to find work directly in New Zealand. And that's the reason we constantly keep telling you guys, get on shore, come into New Zealand through some other pathway like studies, for instance, and establish yourself, learn about the country, create a contact network, work with a good company like AGV, who will also network you into some opportunities and to other people who have come before you. So that's the way to do it. And that's the reason we consistently give the same message saying, hey, look, the best way for you to be here in onshore, and then do it. And then, of course, the second most asked question for us is, how come I can't migrate directly into New Zealand? And that's because there was a recent policy change where earlier there was a possibility for people who were not present in New Zealand to be able to come into New Zealand as skilled migrants, even if they did not have employment in New Zealand or if they did not study in New Zealand. I'm, in fact, an example of that. When I applied as a skilled migrant to come and stay in New Zealand, this was way back in 2001. I did not have employment in New Zealand, nor did I study in New Zealand, but the policies were different at the time where people could, without these two factors, could also apply. But now with the immigration law and the policy states very explicitly that you should have had studied in New Zealand for at least 2 years and done a master's or a PhD, which is one condition, and the other condition is that you need to have skilled employment in New Zealand. So which is why the study pathway becomes very critical. If you are keen to make your future in a country like New Zealand, invest that money, come into New Zealand, come as a student, which is probably a good thing because being a student also gives you the time and a space to ingrain yourself into New Zealand and get a feel for it, and before you start going out into the job market and start pushing your CV for people to be attracted and pick you up. So I personally think it is a great pathway, and which is the reason my team and I, we promote it very passionately. We promote it quite aggressively, and we understand a lot of you are wanting to invest a lot of this money, time, and effort to come and also seek longer term opportunities like work or residency. And I think that's totally in sync with the policy which has been designed in such a way. Otherwise, why would they give a post-study work visa for students to find employment, and then from that, a lot of people who find employment, quite a few go on to get residency. And so it's quite clearly the policy has been designed in such a way. And I think the recent policy change is actually pushing people more and more into this particular pathway now, so that I think the government also has got different checks and balances at different points in a person's interest to become a long-term resident of New Zealand. So I think these are all well-designed policies, and we work totally in sync with these policies. And it's been quite a joyful experience for my team and I to work with really high-quality students who are coming and studying in good institutions here, and then finding employment. And then we because we're present in New Zealand, we're constantly giving them a lot of advice as to what kind of jobs, what salary, so on and so forth, and helping them to reach that eventual goal of getting residency. So that's the way to do it. So to answer your questions, why don't you help me to find jobs? As I said, it's almost impossible. So we don't want to unnecessarily waste your time, money, and effort, nor waste our time and effort in trying to pursue something which is clearly futile. In my 14, 15 years of being in this industry, it's a very rare occasion when somebody who is not present in New Zealand actually is able to find a job and move here. And that is for highly specialized skills in IT or one of those areas like engineering, which are in our skill shortage areas. But like I said, it's more the exception than the rule. And so that is the reason we tell you very clearly we can't help you to find a job. And the second thing why we can't help you to directly migrate to New Zealand is because these two conditions have to be met, which is that either you have skilled employment in New Zealand or you have had studied in New Zealand for 2 years at the master's or PhD level. And the only way, far as I can see, that you can get skilled employment in New Zealand is if you can come for a course of study, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a 2 years master's or PhD. So that's how beautifully that policy is designed. So you can essentially come for a 1 year course, which gives you a post-study work visa, do that successfully, find yourself employment, and by doing that, you tick that first box which says, yes, I have skilled employment here in New Zealand. So that's the way it works, guys. I mean, we would love to provide you with the right services and products that all of you require as clients, and nothing would please us more. But we also need to work within the constraints of what policy is, and also work to our own internal philosophy that we will always keep the interests of New Zealand first, followed by the interests of our clients, followed by the interests of our employees, and last will be the profits of this organization called HAV Services Limited. So that in a nutshell is why we are sometimes having to say, sorry, we can't help you find a job, or sorry, we can't help you to migrate directly to New Zealand. But when we tell you, take the study plus settle pathway, It's a very sincere and honest suggestion, and we are hoping and hopeful that a lot of you will look at the reality of it now after this particular video and opt for this particular pathway. Hope I've cleared it for all of you. As always, thanks for watching my videos. This channel or our Facebook group will not exist without all your support. So big thank you to all of you, and please share my videos, comments, and advice with all your family and friends. And if you are that high quality migrant or student who deserves to be in New Zealand, we will absolutely back you and ensure your dreams come true. So, warm welcome to New Zealand, all you high quality people sitting in different parts of the world who want to come and live in this beautiful country. And if you are the right person for New Zealand, we will absolutely back you 100%. Kia ora, and look forward to speaking to you again.